Hello everyone, this is Randy from Aquarium Co-op, and today is the day I finally get to unveil and show off Project Beyonce. And so what is Project Beyonce? Why do we call it Project Beyonce? Well, Project Beyonce is simply seeded biorings. So those are Aquarium Co-op biorings in there. And you'll notice two beautiful shabunkin goldfish swimming around. We've got some sponge filters. And what is that on the biorings? Molmy, poopy goodness. And what's inside those sponge filters? More molmy, poopy goodness, aka great beneficial bacteria for seeding, supplementing your aquarium. If you're starting up a new aquarium, this is one of the things that you can use. And so, why have we been so secretive about it? Well, I guess it's just kind of fun. But let me show you the system. So each aquarium, they're almost the exact same with the exception of the fish inside. They're running 4 different sponge filter setups. These two are primarily, the ones on the end are primarily for filtration with the easy flows. And then the mediums in the middle that are double stacked, those are actually for extra molm that we're going to squeeze into each bottle of biorings. And you'll see more about that when I show you how we actually package these up. They each have goldfish in them, and they're each running an auto feeder with the auger kit, which an awesome forum member has created. So you take a soda bottle, fill it up with easy community floating pellet, and these feed out 4 times a day throughout the day while we're here at the warehouse. And I think we've got them set up to either 2 or 3 rotations. So we're basically power feeding these goldfish. And as I go down the line, you'll see, I mean, they are beautiful goldfish. I've never had shabunkin before, and it's one of the guilty pleasures of working for Aquarium Co-op and doing stuff like this is I can kind of say like, yeah, these are my goldfish. I've now kept shabunkin. So that's a lot of fun. Here's another tank, and these are actually early prototypes. So that's an early prototype of the easy feeding basket when we were going with the circular style. And then here is the actual production one. This is a test unit as well. You'll see that we've got some food floating around. So one of the feeds just went off. More. And then this guy's not a shabunkin, he's just a regular old fat goldfish. Let's see if he wants to come into focus. And then we have this tank which has a couple smaller goldfish, and I think I'm gonna need to supplement and get a few more shabunkin, quarantine them for a long time. And that's actually a good point to say that when we got these shabunkin in, so these came from Aquahuna or G&H, who is our wholesaler for the retail store as well. We quarantined them here without any biorings in a tank for a month and a half before we actually put them in tanks with biorings. So they have been fully quarantined, salt, meds, the whole 9 yards. So these guys are good to go. So all of their poop is just premium shabunkin fish poo. Let's show you something up here. So we've got the date. So Project Beyonce has been going since August 22nd. So these 3 tanks were put in first. And then we'll come over here to these 3 tanks. And these ones were put in October 2nd. And so today is the day after Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to everybody. But this has been going on for many months now that we've just been patiently waiting for Beyonce to do her thing. Oh yeah, biorings. If you like it, you should have put a ring on it. There you go, everybody. Now we know why it's Beyonce. They are plumbed, so we've got 2 different lines underneath here. These are overflow aquariums. They're already built, they're kind of reef ready with the overflow in the corner. And we've got 2 different lines going. So that way when the auto water change kicks off, because all 6 of them will get a water change at the same time, we don't overwhelm one of the water lines going to the sump. And here's our sump system that we use. Run an air stone in there just so we don't have any stagnant water. And then what's really cool is to kick off our, ooh, little bug flying in my screen. Let's see if I can get that guy. The black probe, let's see if I can zoom in on it. So those 2 probes right there tell our sump when to kick on. And I'm talking into the sump, so it actually kind of sounds a little echoey. When the water level that's overflowing from those bulkheads right there, from the tanks, when it reaches the red probe, it will turn the pump on. Once it drains low enough to where it's past the black probe there on the bottom, the pump will then turn off. If we use a normal float, the way that we have this removing water, it will just have an endless cycle of on and off. As the pump turns off, water that's still in the hose will go back into the sump and it will kick it back on. So we were doing manual activation of this, and then Corey discovered this system for running a sump, which we now use in the retail store as well. And so we're deploying it here at the warehouse, and it's worked out really well so far. All right, what else? Oh, so why also have we been taking so long with Project Beyonce? Well, the bucket test. So I've been coming into the warehouse pretty religiously every day, even on the weekends. There was one period where I think I came in, I don't know, like 12 days in a row or something to test these buckets. Now I have the lids off right now because I'm going to actually do a test for you on camera. But what we have here is every bucket is gonna have 14 drops of Fritz Zyme fishless fuel. So that's ammonia in there. And 14 drops, each bucket was about 3.5 gallons, I think. And so when I did the math, it basically said, hey, if you want 2 parts per million ammonia, which is kind of the general, like, yeah, you know, do 2 parts per million ammonia if you're gonna do a fishless cycle. That's what I went with, so 14 drops. So each one has got 14 drops. The next 2 buckets are the exact same in that they're, again, the same ammonia, but they're gonna have our seeded biorings. So bucket 2 and 3 are the same. Bucket 4 is going to introduce Fritz Zyme at 41 milliliters. So again, 3.5 gallons. What was that math? Basically 41 milliliters of Fritz Zyme 7 if you're trying to establish a new aquarium. Bucket number 5, ammonia in only Fritz Zyme 7, again, 41 milliliters. And then our last bucket here is going to be rock wool. And so this is used rock wool. I think the general consensus when it comes to bacteria is kind of anything that's been in an aquarium system that has surface area is going to have bacteria established on it. Now, biorings are incredibly porous, so the ability for it to hold more bacteria or more bacteria to grow on its surface area is higher. But the idea that, yeah, you know, there's been rock wool in a system like ours that's been sitting in there for a while, you know, there should be some bacteria on there. And what does that actually look like when it comes to cycling your aquarium? Is that enough? Now, you might be able to see them in there, those little let's see if I can move that. But there's no plant matter. So those were plants that were not sufficient for selling to customers. They weren't at our quality level. So we removed all the plant material and just dropped the baskets with rock wool in there. Actually, you know what? I can do this. Let's calm the water down. And there they are, 4 of them. Okay. So this is the initial Project Beyonce test buckets. And then I'll even show you some of my test data, which there will be another video coming out that really highlights this with graphs and all sorts of fun stuff. But we are on day 23. I've already recorded my values for day 23. And if you see these gray bars, these are days that I missed. So that was Thanksgiving. That was a Sunday. This was probably a Sunday as well. And I've got 2 pages of this. So I've been doing the test since, focus, 11/6/2025. And again, there will be another data nerd video of this with Excel spreadsheets and charts and all that good stuff. So bucket number 3, that guy right there, he cycled on the 18th. So he cycled in 13 days. Bucket number 2, or actually bucket number 4, that guy right there with the Zyme 7, that one cycled in 20 days. And then the next day, bucket number 2 finally cycled. Bucket number 1, bucket number 5, and bucket number 6 have not cycled yet. They still have levels of nitrite in them. All buckets at this point have no ammonia, but the ones that have not cycled still have nitrite. Now, with this particular test, one factor that we didn't really account for was the temperature. So on average, when I was testing the temperature of these buckets, it's about 68 to 69 degrees. So I'll do one right now on this bucket. 68.9 degrees. Now that's a pretty cool water aquarium, and we didn't realize this, well at least I didn't realize this, and it kind of didn't dawn on us, but the cooler the temperature, the longer it seems to take to actually cycle an aquarium if you're doing the fishless method using ammonia. And that seemingly has proven to be true because we now have another test in a temperature controlled room where the temps are about 76, 77 degrees. And I'll show you that once I get done in here, that we're seemingly getting a lot faster cycling. Well, we are getting a lot faster cycling for the same types of buckets with the same ammonia and all that good stuff. So I'll show you that later. But one fun thing I'd like to do, well, at least I'm gonna try to with one hand, is I'm gonna show you on this right here, I'm gonna put each bucket's test strip on this laminated sheet, and hopefully we'll get to see the test results next to each other. All right, here we go, one-handed. This is gonna be fun. All right, Aquarium Co-op multi-test strips right there. First bucket, maybe our, one, two, about 3 seconds. So I'm gonna lay each strip there. 3, and on camera. And so you can see, so you're supposed to do 3 seconds, swirl it in the water, and then wait 60 seconds and you'll see the test results. At least that's when they should kind of officially color up on the test strip. But you can see immediately how the nitrates and the nitrites are coloring up. Now, nitrites are totally fine. It's the nitrite that we don't want. Ooh. All right. And let's see, that was bucket 4. Let's go bucket 5. This is just Zyme only. 3. See, and you see right away that Zyme 7 still has nitrite in it. We'll go use rock wool. Okay. Put that guy right there. And then the last one is going to be a tap water control. So let me get one more test strip. Use my own personal drinking cup. 1, 2, 3. And put that right there. All right, we'll see how much glare is on here. Try to scoop that over. And so you can see that we've got, well, it's kind of hard to tell, but we've got very, very light, subtle pink in 2, 3, and 4. But that second pad is the nitrite, and that's the one that we want to be basically white, which we've got on 2, 3, and 4, but not on 1, 5, and 6, which 6, rock wool is seemingly outperforming Zyme 7 alone and ammonia alone. And then there's our control right there. So Zyme 7, I do believe in the product. I've used it in my own personal tanks. We've used them to establish these tanks here. And I think that if somebody at home was real nermy and wanted to do their own Zyme 7 tests, potentially having Zyme 7 with unseeded biorings or any other type of like sponge material. So maybe the Zyme 7 needs something to kind of cling on to really like reproduce. And this is all just like fish room conjecture, guessing. You know, I'm not a microbiologist by any stretch of the imagination, but I've been to the Fritz facility. I've seen how they culture the Zyme 7. It is a less, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's the same bacteria as TurboStart. It's just a lower concentration of it. And so it is good stuff, but it's just, temperature also I think maybe could affect Zyme 7 as well. So I think there's kind of more to explore about that. So we have cycled Beyonce buckets, great news. I'm now gonna show you, if you want one last look at those test pads. All right, okay. So then how are we gonna actually process these when we get orders in? So much like our plants in the plant system over there, we are going to prep these the day that we're going to ship them out. So they're gonna stay in this fishy, poopy, beautiful shabunkin water until we get orders. And what we'll do is, let's say we're gonna have, 20 of these guys. We're gonna take the appropriate amount of BioRing bags out of this tank, and we're gonna go over to a station, one of our plant prep stations. And I've already kind of set one up to show you guys. And when we move them, we are going to have some type of container so that they stay in the water. And then we're even going to wring out sponges so that we get extra molmy water. And so this is what we currently have right now for what does our workflow look like. So you have a stand with a nice base on it. You take your empty bottle, which will have this label on, more to come on that. Put it in there, take your funnel, take the appropriate number of bio rings, put them directly into here through the funnel, and then we're gonna have like a Kool-Aid style clear pitcher that's all full of just poopy water, and we're gonna pour that in here until we get to some level, you know, kind of right about there. And I think the idea is that whenever it reaches the line of the funnel, that's where we know to stop. So that way we're producing a consistent product time and time again. So then what is it going to look like? It's going to look like this. So if you see that kind of poopiness in there, this is a Project Beyonce bottle. It's got a nice cap on it. It's got a nice label. Hopefully that's coming through nice and clear. And I think one more fun thing to show you is how we get the label on, because we want a consistent label placement. We don't want it all over the place. You know, when you order this, if you order multiples of them, we want them to look nice and present well as you get them out of your package. So these are bottle holders. And the idea being is that you would take the label, which spans only two sides because we want to have a nice clear window on these. And you would start on this end and you would wrap it around. But then we realized, well, that actually is kind of a pain in the butt, even with two hands, and you're not holding a camera like I am. So we worked with our amazing designer, and, oh, I'm doing it opposite. Now the bottle is at a 45 degree. If you have it right here, it's flat. So back on this jig, there you go. It's kind of, it's like in a diamond shape. And then these guys right here are also your guide. These are your bottom guide for when you apply the label. So you'll start on one side, or if you've got a good judge of what the center of it is, you'll apply the label nice and clean. And if you always use this as the bottom guide, it's gonna have nice, clean label placement. And so that's just a small touch, but that's something that we really, you know, strive to have here. And then once you're done, what was my number, 10 or 20? You're gonna take them, and just like plants, we're gonna go over to one of our plant bins. And in our system, we're going to virtually transact them. We're going to move them into an empty bin, which I don't have any empty bins. So I'm going to put that in there, and then a packer will come along and pick it just like a normal item. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, like a normal item, like a plant that has been prepped. And now let's take a trip to the office. All right, last stop, 3D printers. So this is our temperature controlled office where I'm doing the second round of bucket testing. And we're running a space heater in here to try to maintain a consistent warm level. All right, let's take a look at the buckets that we have here. We have a 2 part per million ammonia. So again, just like out there, we've got a seeded bioring bucket with 2 parts per million ammonia, 14 drops. We have a second bucket that's doing the exact same thing. And what's different on this one is that these two buckets, same seeded biorings, but we wanted to see what does it look like if somebody just did 1 part per million, and so that would be 7 drops. And those results have basically confirmed, you know, kind of the prevailing wisdom that we now see of that when your temperatures are warmer. So on average, these ones, the temperature in here is about 70. Well, let's go ahead and show you right now. Let's do a test. So today is a warmer day, 78.8. So I think our office heaters are working a little bit harder than they have been before, but it's been 76, 77 degrees, you know, more traditional tropical aquarium temperatures. And so what we see here is that bucket 2 cycled today. Is that today or is that yesterday? Oh, that was, oops, I didn't put these on the right one. My bad. So this should actually be all gray. These over here, I did not come in yesterday on the 27th. So bucket 2 cycled today, bucket 4 cycled today, bucket 5 cycled today, and they very well might have actually cycled yesterday, but you know, I wasn't here, so day 8 is actually when they cycled. And then bucket 3 still has 1 part per million nitrite in it, And so I would expect tomorrow or the next day, that bucket will then be cycled. And we still see that bucket one, the control, has 100 part per million nitrate, which, you know, that is high. We do expect that to come down, of course, but 10 parts per million on ammonia. And for context, when you actually look at the test strip sheet, 10 is going to be in the highest of, like, yep, you've got very high nitrite, change that water. So that still needs to come down, and that's probably going to take another, I don't know, 3 or 4 days at least, maybe more. But you know, it is very fascinating to see that warmer temperatures are going to produce a faster cycled bucket. Now, some of you may be saying no duh, but it's really cool to see that actually played out. I think this has been a fairly, you know, inexpensive-ish kind of experiment, that if somebody in a local fish club wanted to do this and create a talk on it and share their experiences with cycling, but also anybody at home that, you know, you want to see if you can reproduce our results just for your own fish keeping knowledge, by all means, go for it. So, yep, very excited, very happy that I'm able to now show you Project Beyonce and all of the effort that has gone into ensuring that it is a valid product, and all the work that we've done to bring you seeded biorings. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you on the next video.